Today we're diving into something a little different. This isn't about data or history, it's a chilling, true-to-life horror story that comes straight out of Bhopal. It's about a student whose search for a good time led him straight into an absolute nightmare.
This is the warning that this whole story leaves us with. It's a piece of advice that was born from an experience so terrifying it was almost deadly. So what on earth could happen in just one night to make someone say this? Well, let's get into it. So let's meet our guy Jatin. He's an engineering student who moved to the big city of Bhopal from a small town. And, like a lot of kids in his situation, he was just figuring things out, getting used to a new life, and discovering a whole new level of freedom. And Jatin's change was, wow, it was fast. His first year, he's stuck in this super strict boarding house, totally lonely, pretty miserable. But come second year, he moves into a flat with his friends, and with that came zero supervision, absolute freedom.
There's actually a Hindi phrase that perfectly describes what happened to him. Chutta sand. It means an uncontrolled bull, and that's exactly what Jatin became. His studies? They took a major backseat to partying, drinking, a really wild lifestyle, all paid for by lying to his parents. He was just completely off the rails.
All right, so the scene is set on this one particular night in Bhopal, and it just so happened to be a dry day, one of those days where all the official liquor stores are shut down, which, for a bunch of students ready to celebrate, is a total disaster.
See, Jatin and his roommates had just found out they passed their exams, and the energy was high. They had to party. But with no booze, the celebration was basically dead before it even started. That is until Jatin pipes up. Turns out, he knows a guy on the edge of town who sells liquor under the table.
So, someone had to go get it, and Jatin, he volunteers. We're talking about a 9-kilometer trip, by himself in an auto-rickshaw to some remote part of the city, all in the name of keeping the party going. His friends were just relieved and sent him on his way. So he gets there, buys a few bottles, and everything's good. But then he gets an idea. He's thinking, back at the flat, this booze is going to be split between 5 guys. He did all the work. He might not even get that much. So he makes a decision, a fateful one. He's going to drink one whole bottle by himself, right there and then. No one will ever know, right? Now to do this, Jatin needed a place to hide. He finds this dark, completely deserted alley between 2 old buildings. It's dead quiet. Seems like the perfect spot. So he slips in, sits down in the pitch black, and starts drinking. He's sitting there drinking, and then he feels something, just a little tug on his hair. He's annoyed, figures it's a bug or something. He even turns his phone's flashlight off so no one sees him and keeps drinking. But then it happens again. And this time, it wasn't gentle. It was a sharp, hard pull that yanked his head back. Okay, now he's spooked. He decides, that's it, I'm leaving. He chugs the rest of the bottle, gets up, and looks toward the main road. And that's when his blood runs cold. Blocking his way out, just standing there silently, is a woman, dressed in a white saree, and her eyes were completely, horrifyingly white. He's terrified, but his fight or flight kicks in and he just shoves past her, scrambling out to the main road. His heart is hammering in his chest. He's thinking, who was that? What was she doing in there? He turns back to look and she's gone, just vanished. And here's the really chilling part. The alley was a dead end. There was literally nowhere for her to go.
At this point, Jatin is in a full-blown panic. His only thought is, get away from here now. He frantically flags down the very first auto rickshaw he sees, hops in, and blurts out his address. He just wants to go home. But his nightmare was far from over. So it's a 9-kilometer ride, about half an hour. The alcohol is really hitting him now, and the night air is making him sleepy. He figures he'll just lean his head against the bar and doze off for a bit. And as the auto is rattling along, he feels something strange next to him. He feels a foot brush up against his. He's drowsy, thinking maybe the driver picked someone else up. He opens his eyes, still looking down, and sees a woman's foot next to his. He's confused. The auto never stopped. And then he slowly lifts his head. And sitting right there, right next to him, is the same woman from the alley. He just stares, absolutely frozen in shock. She turns her head, and those dead white eyes lock onto his. And then she opens her mouth, but it's not a human sound. It's this low, terrifying hiss that comes through these sharp, fang-like teeth. Before he can even get a scream out, she reaches over and grabs his arm. And the feeling,
It wasn't just a tight grip. It was this unnatural, searing cold, like a piece of dry ice burning right through his skin. The pain was so shocking, so otherworldly, that it snapped him out of his terror-induced paralysis.
In that single moment, his brain had one command: escape. He didn't think, he didn't hesitate. Driven by pure terror and that agonizing cold, Jatin just threw himself out of the speeding auto rickshaw. He tumbles onto the road and right into the path of an oncoming car. So the terrifying encounter itself was over, but Jatin's ordeal? Oh, that was just getting started. What came next was a painful recovery, total disbelief from everyone he knew, and one single horrifying piece of evidence that nobody could explain away.
Jatin was out cold for 2 whole days. When he finally woke up in the hospital, with his worried family and friends all around him, the doctors had a pretty simple story. He got way too drunk and did something stupid, like jumping out of a moving vehicle. No one, and I mean no one, wanted to hear his story about a woman with white eyes. To them, it was just a drunken hallucination. For a month, he just recovered, putting up with all the lectures and the "I told you so" looks from everyone. When he finally gets back with his friends, they're teasing him about his ghost story, and he just had enough. He looks them dead in the eye and says, "You think I was hallucinating? Then look at this."
And he showed them his arm. There, even after a whole month of healing, was the proof. It was a dark, perfectly clear handprint bruised deep into his skin. You could see the individual marks of 5 long, sharp fingers dug in with what must have been incredible force, like an animal's claws. It was the mark left by that ice-cold grip. And seeing that mark, his friends went silent. The joking just stopped. Suddenly, all their logical explanations didn't seem to make sense anymore. That bruise was real. It was undeniable. And it was deeply, deeply disturbing. So that leaves us with the question: was it all just a drunken hallucination? Or did Jatin actually escape something much, much worse that night? Jatin survived, yeah, but he was left with more than just physical scars. His story is just this chilling reminder that maybe some warnings shouldn't be ignored. Whether you think it was a ghost or just a trick of the mind, one thing's for sure: some places are best left alone. Because sometimes when you're drinking alone in the dark, something is listening. And sometimes it leaves a mark.